We're gonna dive right into it. So everybody else who just jumps in, they'll jump into it. So I have a lesson plan for you guys. So I was able to spend some time with Chip, Isaac, Simon, and really just dive deep into what I think is most valuable for you guys. And so over the next 6 lessons, we're going to start from the bottom up, right? And so when we talk about the bottom up, what I look at is as we get more tactical, we need to start with foundations first. So I have a doc prepared for you guys. I will send this to you guys. So I want you guys to take notes and kind of perceive this in a way and write it out for yourself in a way that is most valuable for you, because obviously the way you write out for yourself is really, really important. And then I'll give you guys a structured document on like how you can use this going forward. Okay. So let's be a little more interactive today. It'll be a strong lesson on just how we show up. And this isn't mindset. I'm going to be very clear with you guys. It's not mindset. This is actually more about congruence and alignment. And so this might sound like a little woo, but you always hear like how you do anything is how you do everything. And it's kind of similar to what I'm talking about here, but I'll actually kind of open your eyes to what I talk about, what we need to be on these calls. And one of the most clear things you guys all understand is that as you're talking to high level people, if we want to be leaders to these people, we can't be passive. That's the exact opposite. The exact opposite of leadership is passiveness. Okay. And people have this misconception of like what authority is and how you have to show up and be all this stuff. It's like aggressive. That's not at all what we want to do. So I'm going to make this very, very clear. And so if there's any questions, please save it for the end. Okay. I'm not even going to be looking at you guys. I have this doc that I'm going to be referencing for you guys. I'm not going to share my screen. I want it to be engaging. Just save every question for the end. It'll probably take about 30 minutes to go through, and then we'll dive through everything else. Okay. So right now, I want you guys to understand, and this is something that's a foundational thing. You guys actually, this is probably something you can use for yourself and use for maybe a lesson when you teach people other things and whatnot, teach new hires. There's 4 stages of learnings. Okay. There's unconscious incompetence, meaning like you don't know what you don't know. There's conscious incompetence, meaning like you know you're bad, you're a little aware of it, you need to improve, right? And then there's conscious competence, where it's like you're aware and you're improving, you're actively working on that. And then there's unconscious competence, when you think of like a chef. They can come in, no recipe, and just show up, and then boom, they can just react, perform, right? That's the 4 stages of learning. And so right now, you guys are all probably in different stages here. And so when it comes to this, what I'm going to be talking about, again, I don't want you guys to get confused and mixed up and think that this is mindset, because it's not, right? And I'll explain this to you. So if you guys don't understand the foundations of why we act and react the way that we do, we will never change. And so I will explain this like from like a fundamental standpoint, but always like a behavioral science standpoint as well. So we'll go over a couple things here. And we're going to start with like what I think we all use every single day. And I think it's probably one of the most important tools is like an AE, a closer, whatever you guys regard yourself as. It's structure, and structure yields freedom. Okay. So I'm going to call on one of you guys. One of you raise your hand. I want somebody to take the step up here. I want somebody to show me their calendar, but I want you to show it to me knowing that it's bad. Like your structure is poor, because this is where you're going to improve. So somebody please raise your hand. It's okay. Like they're not going to get in trouble if your calendar is bad, but show me your calendar. Cool, Brandon, show me it. Okay, if you saw Brandon, I saw your hand first. That's the only reason why I called on you. So can you show me your calendar, please? If you don't mind, just share your screen with us. I can give you permission if it's available. Okay. So you have, okay, so prior to 9 a.m., what do you do prior to 9 a.m. typically, Brendan? Like, is it just like you wake up at like 8 and then you start hopping on at 9, or what do you do prior to 9 in the morning? You're muted.
Wake up at 7, walk my dog. That'll probably take me all the way up to 8. At 8, I can either make breakfast. I can do like to stretch a lot. So I'll stretch for 15, 30 minutes.
Okay, cool. That's fine. And then and then after, I'm assuming like you kind of just do whatever you want to, like after 5, you just kind of do whatever.
Yeah, pretty much between 5 and 7. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Brandon, it's totally fine. This is not a bad thing. This is actually, this is what's going to make you better, right? So and that could have been anybody. So now the free time you have, what is that? Like, is that just like you just have it for bookings? Is that so GHL can like book the bookings on there? Or like what else is in between there?
Yeah. Whatever says free,
Yeah, for the bookings to hop on
that's
there.
pretty. No, it's not the bookings to hop on.
Oh, it's not.
If the calendar space is empty, that's where the bookings will go.
Got it. Okay.
So I
So
should be open for like 30-minute spots. If it says free, then that means it's literally like free.
okay, so
I'll usually use that for like follow-ups, etc.
Got it. Okay. I see. Okay. Makes sense. So like this is exactly what I mean. So like in on the surface, you could see this and like, oh, there's some structure here, right? But not this, it goes so much further than you, and you can stop sharing it, Brendan. It's fine. You can stop sharing it for 1 second. Like you can like see a calendar and think, okay, cool. Like this is my structure. This is what I need to do. This is how it's going to work, right? But there's some nuances behind that. And so instead of, yeah, because I'm not going to run through everybody and just try to find like good calendars. I'm going to show you guys like my calendar, for example. Okay. And I'll show you like how intentional I am with like absolutely everything. So let me go to yesterday. So, so I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I think it'd just be easier to explain, right? So if I go from yesterday, right, Monday, I woke up at 5, went to 5:30. This one break in between here is just getting dressed and getting ready. Then I have a sales team meeting. I meet with my team, right? I got sold yesterday for like 30K. It's like there's all these other meetings, right? All these things are just intentional back to back to back to back. And the end of my day, these 2 meetings got canceled. And I said, go to bed. Excuse my French there. But like I even remind myself to go to bed to make sure that I successfully went. And so every time it's a red, and there's no red here, if there's a red, that means I didn't stick to my calendar. But if it's green, I stuck to my calendar. That's the way that I see it, right? And so if you want to stick and live by your calendar, there's a bigger purpose behind all this. I want you guys to understand that. It's not just about like, oh yeah, I need to have this structure for, it's not like I'm trying to show off like, oh, I have my stuff together. No, not at all. What happens is it compounds to create alignment from within. This is like called small victories. If you ever hear like these small, like there's so many books that talk about like, oh, you have these compound these small victories. If you never work out, you go to the gym for 5 minutes. It's so true. Because if we talk about like again alignment, which when I talk about alignment, it's literally the best way I could explain it is like keeping your word with yourself, right? Because your subconscious, your conscious, those are things that can be easily influenced in the good or bad way, whether you recognize it or not. And so all the actions you take, whether you realize it or not, are influencing you in some type of way, right? And so if we don't stick to our calendar, meaning it says follow up, but you don't do it, you're starting to lose trust within yourself. You lose this congruence. There's this lack of compounding effect of like, oh, I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. You can feel it. You can feel it. You can literally feel that shift and that change. And so I would advise all of you guys for every single thing that you do, you should have something on your, there should literally be for like the time again. And I'm not saying all you guys to wake up at 5 in the morning and do that. I'm not Mr. Rah Rah kind of guy. I'm not Mr. Like, trust me, I was waking up at 8 in the morning up until like last month, probably. Right. But then when it came up to like waking up at 5 in the morning, this is just a decision I decided to make where I'm going to go to bed earlier, but wake up earlier. I just felt like it was better for me. It served me more. And so for you guys, this is where you guys can figure out your structure and what works best for you, right? Some of you might enjoy working out late at night, early in the morning. That's fine, but stick to your word and don't be, oh, it's 9 p.m. Yeah, I'm going to change my calendar around. You don't need to do that, right? Because the bigger issue here is like, why am I not going to bed earlier? What am I doing wrong? Like a perspective I can give you guys. If anybody's like a late night guy, late night girl, I like to stay up late. Nothing good happens after midnight. That's the truth, whether you recognize it or not. There's nothing. What are you doing? I've been watching Disney Channel or something, or like watching golf, football game. Like there's nothing beneficial with that, right? And so there's so many other factors that go into this. The calendar is one fundamental thing, but if you show me your calendar, I can show you a lot on where you can improve, a lot on what you can change, right? I can tell like where your habits are lacking, and like if you, it's a funny thing is I always say this: structure yields freedom. And the ironic thing is that sometimes we all get into sales, and especially remote sales, we think, oh, we have location freedom, financial, we can do whatever we want, we can travel. Like, but if you don't have that structure, you actually feel more of a slave to your calendar than not, right? Like a budget. If you realize, like, if you don't have a budget, and I'm sure some of you can relate to this, or you don't have a budget, and then like, oh, where did my money go? Holy cow! I had like so much money coming in this month, and it's just like gone. But then we have a budget, you tell your money what to do. It's very clear where it goes. It's very intentional. And so when I kid you not, guys, when it comes down to like budgeting, my calendar, my time, where I spend my time, every single thing is so damn intentional to where like it would be impossible for me to not succeed in whatever it is that I'm going to do. Because I create that compounding effect, right? That's going to come. And then this is literally just from habits. And then your brain will start to realize like, oh, wow, okay, I do have integrity. I do keep my word to myself. And then you show up differently in your calls. And if you don't have that, you have this doubt for whatever reason, you'll realize like, I'm telling you, there's times where like, why am I feeling so weird on this call? Like, why am I like talking so low? Why do I feel like a little uncomfortable? Like, why am I so uncertain in myself? But it's like, dude, look at everything else. Look at everything else outside of here that you're just totally not addressing. That starts, I kid you not, with all you guys, AEs, it's your calendar. It's your calendar. And so what this leads into is the next part of this lesson is behaviors, okay? And so I want you to understand there's 4 ways. This is behavioral science. This is from Chase. He's one of my mentors. 4 ways to influence a human. And you guys can write this down. This is actually really important. This is something you can take into your calls as well. Number 4, the least important, is thoughts. It scratches the surface. If you can get somebody to think, where it's like, that's a good idea. I never thought about it like that. Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. You can get them to think about it. It's good, but you're just scratching the surface. Not saying you can't influence somebody by influencing their thoughts. You can, but it will then lead into number 3, which is, again, a little stronger, but still not the most valuable, is feelings, right? We all make decisions based on emotions and compensate logically. That's neuroscience proves that. That is true. That is very, very true. Thoughts will then create feelings, right? You can only feel what you're thinking, ironically, right? I've used this analogy before when like you're sitting at the dinner table with your family, all this stuff. You're thinking about work and work's not going so well. You're going to feel what's going on up here, not what's around you. So you have thoughts, feelings, and then you have behaviors. Okay. And so what I want you to think about, this is going to, we'll get a little deep on this. I'll create a bigger lesson on this. When we talk about behaviors, we're controlled by essentially like code. Think about code, think about like code, and there's like scripts with code, right? And so when you're typing out code, you call it script, right? So it's like there's life scripts and there's ancestral scripts. So what does that mean? Life scripts are like, think about like tying your shoe. Or like when you're like, yeah, no, I'm okay. Don't worry, I'm all good. And like, but you're not okay. That's a life script. You're taught that. Eating breakfast at 9 in the morning, having pancakes in the morning versus like fried chicken at night. That's a life script. It's things that we were taught and learned. It's a behavior that we were taught, right? Versus ancestral, which all of us have them identically. We're all identical. This is like millions of years of like DNA programming. This is really, really high level stuff when it comes to like fear. So think about when that cop pulls up behind you. What happens when that happens? What happens when that happens, right? What happens when a cop pulls up behind you? What does that feel like? We all know that feeling. You get tense, nervous. And even if you know you didn't do anything wrong, even if you know what you did, and it's like, oh, I parked on the wrong side of the road, whatever. Like, you know, it's gonna be a small ticket. You still get that tension, that feeling. It's the same feeling for everybody, right? Or if you guys ever, I don't know if anybody has kids here, you grab a baby and you put them on top of like a table, they're all gonna start walking. That's engraved in our DNA, whether you realize it or not. And it's, oh, the baby's so smart. It's like, no, that's just, it's human nature. If there's a surface beneath you, you're going to walk. You're going to try to walk. This is what it is. And so what happens is like when we have these behaviors that are life scripts, I'm going to make it very simple here, right? So it's like a life script, for example, is like when decisions come up that are big, you don't commit. You become very passive, right? Or like you take very, very long to think about decisions. You think like, oh man, I can never make it. I'm so such an overthinker. I can never think about this thing. But the life script that you've created for yourself, the behavior you've allowed for yourself, is you're giving yourself so much time and all this length to just make a decision. And then 3 months later, you make a decision when it's like not even necessary, or like, oh, you just never knew what to do. And you're just waiting, hoping to figure out itself. That's just a behavior you've allowed. And so then the ancestral script that's triggered is that every time there's a big decision, it's a little scary, and you will extend the time from this. And so you'll just freeze up and not do anything. Just like people on the end of the calls, when I need to think about anything, get over, they're afraid to commit. They're in this behavior that they've allowed and done consistently. It's like they haven't committed to a decision. They don't invest. They don't do these things. These behaviors that they're used to trigger this fear response. And in fear, we freeze and we leave, right? If a bus drives in front of you, what do? You freeze and then you try to run. And that's coming back from like millions of years. We're talking about like if there's a saber-tooth tiger, they would do the same thing. Like, oh shoot, there's a tiger right there. I gotta run. It's the same thing, the same reaction. And so we create life scripts that then impact our ancestral scripts. It becomes so much deeper. And so the way you break these things within yourself is changing your behaviors. That's within ourselves. But if we can do that within ourselves, I kid you not, you'll realize how much more impact you on your calls, in your life, and everything else you do. And that can start with one decision. One decision. It can be like, hey man, I've been waiting on like, breaking up with my girlfriend for this many months. And like, yeah, it's kind of good, but kind of bad. And this wishy-washy stuff will linger into the rest of your life. And so I always use this analogy, like how you are on your sales calls or how you are off your sales calls. And that relates to everything, every single thing. And so there's never a right or wrong decision. The best decision is committing to one. And then you being the founder of your life, which I mentioned this on the first call we ever had, is like, what you guys should be founders of your lives, right? Even though yours are closers, you guys should be leaders for yourselves. The right decision is just the one that you commit to. And then whatever happens after, you figure that out. That is on you to do that. But most people who won't make those decisions, when things go bad, they kind of like just plop and fall under and they freeze under pressure. Why? because they can't even commit to a decision in anything that they want to do. They don't have clarity on that. They don't have that alignment with themselves. And that's the bigger issue here, right? And so when I talk about passiveness versus leadership, I want you guys to think about what are some of those decisions that I've waited on? What are those like little white lies that I kind of just throw out here and there just because like it just makes me feel a little bit better? Where am I lacking integrity in my life? Because all of that plays a factor. It's your character. It's how you show up. And so when I go back to the 4 levels of influence, and it's mentioned behavior, spend a lot of time on that because that's literally what we can actually, funny enough, that's on our calls. It's what we can dictate, right? When, if you ever hear people like, oh, I've never invested in anything like this before, they're just not used to making that behavior. Our brains desire this pattern, and anything that's not related to these patterns that we've done in our lives is dangerous typically. But if we can make it feel safe through their thoughts, their feelings, and change their behaviors, then it creates number one, which is the fourth way, the number one way is impulses, which is the impulse is like you take out the credit card, right? Or you react. The impulse, it's at the brainstem level. So where your spine connects with your brain, right? Physiology, right, is your body does more for your brain than your brain does for your body, funny enough. And we'll dive deeper on this lesson, guys. So like this, the whole 4 levels of influence and all that stuff. We'll have a big lesson on that later in the lessons in the next 3-4 weeks. Just because again, it's a little high level, and I want to prepare for you guys on like what that is at a high level. I can give you guys some sales examples, of course, on like how you can use that and what that would look like. But what I want you guys to focus on today after this call, and we don't have to get super personal on here. You don't have to share these things to me. You can keep it with yourselves. But like, where are you most incongruent, right? That's the word you want to use. It's incongruence, right? Because there's a perception of who you want to be and what you want to be, whether it's being the top AE at Sen Blue, whether it's being the best husband, the best wife you can be, whether it's being, the best whatever, right? There's something that you want, but your actions are doing otherwise. And so where there's this incongruence, you'll start to feel that. What were you saying that you were going to do? But your actions didn't correlate. Your actions were not aligned, right? That is the question we need. Because like, again, if we're doing these things and saying these things, or say we're going to do whatever the XYZ that we want to accomplish, but we're not actually doing it, it's the same thing with our prospects. They say they're going to do, oh, it makes so much sense. Yeah, $50,000 I can increase. Oh, of course, I could increase so much money. That's ridiculous. Like, yeah, but I'm going to think about it. It's $1,000, a lot of money. It's like, you see this and you're saying it makes so much sense, but you're doing otherwise. And not saying you can't challenge people, but it's harder, and they won't feel it as much. They won't believe you when you're saying it. And you're like, Brian, I don't think that makes much sense. And funny enough, I've seen it where it's like, why is it that a closure can come in, or an AE, I'm sorry, can come in and just call somebody out right out of the gate, and it won't even be like, it won't even feel polite, right? It won't even feel like it was proper. It kind of just felt like he just said it, but he did say it. He called him out, and it's like, oh wow, he just totally took that power away, right? And I've seen it so many times. I'm not, and again, mind you guys, I don't want you guys, I'm not sitting here saying like, hey, just call people out and just be disrespectful. Absolutely not. There's a way you can go about this, but it's like every time somebody says I need to think about it. And I've seen people just say something as simple as like, hey man, most people say that when they're not ready to commit to a decision that they want to make. And so I understand, and that's okay. Right. And then again, like something like that, where they can just call it out. Funny enough, that's actually it's like you're taking the power away. That's a life script, right? That pattern that they've done. When you call that out, it takes power away. That is very, very true. But some people can't even do that because they're so incongruent with themselves. And not because it's like a fear thing, but like your brain, your body won't even let you do it. It's just not possible sometimes. And that we have to be able to make these changes in us, right? So I hope you guys understand how that impacts your calls overall. And so now we'll focus on 2 more things, which is like a pre-call and on-call, for the things that we can improve to be able to create more alignment within ourselves. Just simple stuff here, and then I'll jump into a little Q&A with you guys. We talk about pre-call. I talked about this briefly on the first call. I talked about research. I had asked you guys, who does research before their calls? Like, what kind of research do you do? Preparation will mitigate any fear or anxiety you have in anything that you do. I'm telling you guys from experience, like speaking in front of like 200 people, like any time that I've ever felt like the most congruent or least congruent, whether it was early in my career or late in my career, it's the preparation that we do. Like literally for this, I prepared for this. And like, I'll be transparent. Even me, for the last like 2 calls, and the first call I was pretty prepared. Second call I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go over some discovery. It kind of took me off my process. Okay, cool. It's a little longer than I expected. Cool, whatever. But then this one, it's like there's preparation, and it gains your focus. It gains your attention. There's a certain respect and authority you come with when you have the preparation. And so if you can do this research, and the thing is, sometimes you might not even understand what research would look like, what's going to benefit us. But like truthfully, every closer, every AE values different things in a different regard, right? And so for you guys, so what do you value? What do you need to understand? What's that research that you need for yourself to feel more comfortable? And if you don't understand that just yet, that's a bigger problem. Because then you're just going in this call, like, oh, I have random information I can kind of use. But how are you going to leverage that? What do I need this information for? When do I ask this question? Right. And so there's bigger issues there. But regardless, this creates more alignment within yourself, right? Is that research. Now, the second thing for pre-call, and this is something that's a little more woo-woo. So again, this might not resonate with all you guys, and that's okay. But it's called, it's intention. And this is from another one of my mentors, Eli Wild. I'm sure you guys know who this is, speaks on stage a bunch, talks about influence. It's called pre-call priming, right? And so the reason I say this, like setting intention, if you have this alignment with yourself, your word with yourself is very, very important. And so trust me, you guys, like it might feel a little awkward to do this at first, but it's funny when you get it, it works insanely well. And so what you'll do is you jump into a call, right? So imagine if all you guys were just sitting in the waiting room and I'm recording myself. I'm looking at myself, right? I'm looking at myself in the camera, and it'll be like, okay, cool. I have Simon in the waiting room here. It seems like he's a little unsure on the impact of Send Blue on his company. He just doesn't understand how going from green bubbles to blue bubbles actually makes an impact on his business. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it very, very clear to him and help him understand exactly how this will impact his business and give him an ROI and how we can increase his sure rates from XYZ to XYZ. And then I'll make sure that we understand like the pain that it's causing him right now by not having these sure rates here. And if I can show him a clear metric on what it's going to take to, or what it would increase in terms of, his, sure rate, response rate, whatever the issue is at hand, the application, look at that stuff. Then I'll make sure that at the end of the call, I close him on, it looks like he'll need at least 3 lines. So I'll close him on 3 lines. That'll be paid in full, right? And you speak this intention, right? It's literally how it would go. You speak this intention to the world. You look at yourself, and I promise you guys, the first time you do this, it'll feel awkward. The second time you do, and the first time, say for example, the first time you do it, feels awkward, but you close, you're going to go back and be like, oh my God, holy cow. I'm never not doing that again. I'm going to do this every single time. But then the second time you do it, let's say the first time you don't close, the second time you do it, it's like, holy cow. Okay, this is getting better, but I feel like this is actually working. You're going to feel like this comfort. And then when it does work for you, I promise you guys, looking back at it, it's this dopamine hit that you've never felt before. It's this thing that we're like, oh my God, like this is real. Like it's so real. And it's a little woo. Again, I will say that I will say that. But like one thing I've learned over time being in the space is like spirituality has done a lot more in my eyes than like science and psychology. And I've noticed like this congruence again, and some of this stuff is a little woo in regard to like spirituality and whatnot. But like that's a perspective. Again, if that's not a place where you're at in your life right now, you don't sound something that you agree with, totally understand. That's fine, but try it. I would tell you try it. If you don't look at it in a woo perspective, just look at it like with keeping your word with yourself. You'll see how valuable that actually is. So that's pre-call priming. That's pre-call, all before the call start. Now on call. Everybody knows setting the agenda, setting the frame, right? We all know what that is. We all know how to do that. This is where leadership starts, right? This is the opposite of passiveness. If you start with the passiveness right there, and like, hey, and like, oh, well, how does this work? What's the price, man? Just come on, I don't have much time for this. I got like 40 meetings back to back. Let's go. What's the price, dude? And you're like, yeah, sir, sorry. Do you have an iPhone? And it's like, listen, man, I understand you have the blue messages. Yeah, what's the price, man? Like, let's go. You're gonna feel this like frantic energy. Your body's gonna feel this frantic energy. You're gonna, oh my God, throws you off. This is where leadership starts. You have to gain control here. Sales, 50% of sales are typically lost in the first 2 minutes. And you might not believe me when I say that, but I kid you not, it does. Because the behavior you allow in the beginning, go back to the 4 levels of influence, 4 ways you influence people. If the behavior is allowed, that they can cut you off, that they can gain control, they can ask you questions, that will be allowed through the entirety of the call, the entirety of the conversation. It starts right in the beginning, the first 2 minutes, right there. Not every single call, but typically it will be, I can watch a call and be like, dude, you just messed up here. You gave him the frame. You let him win. He took control, and then you try to gain it back, but he doesn't respect you already. You already allowed the behavior. You don't need much. But like as soon as they do something like, and I'm not saying to like, again, I'm not the guy who's telling you gotta be aggressive. Like, oh no, this is my call, buddy. You don't come here and cut me off and tell me what the price is. You know what? You want to know the price? I'll tell you, go talk to somebody else. You don't have to do anything like that. Right? But slow things down. Learn to pause. Don't feel like you have to fill in this gap of silence. Just sit there, like, oh. Like Brian, it's so good that you want to understand the price. Seems like you're really, really ready to increase your show rates here. Am I right? It's like, yeah, I'll dive into that, but let's make sure it even makes sense to go from green to blue bubbles here. All right, man. And like some people might be a little tense, but funny enough, I kid you not, this is something that like I'm notoriously known for. Like if you watch any of my sales calls, That silence, I've sat in silence for like 30 seconds and they're like, hey, dude, are you there? I'm like, yeah. And even if I don't know what to say, I'm like, shit, this guy's like coming in here aggressive. That will, because it's just his heart rate. If you really think it's his nervous system, his heart rate is going. And if yours is going too, then it's two heart rates that are just going. And you don't fight fire with fire. Someone needs to slow it down. Someone needs to be in control. If he doesn't have control of his emotion, that's the way you should reframe it. It's like, this guy does not have control right now. I almost feel bad for this guy. This guy's going to just rush to the price and not understand exactly what's going to impact his business. And I'm not serving him if I do that. So let me slow this down for him and make sure he understands. And it might feel a little awkward, a little tough, but again, all this fundamentally will feel way easier and way simpler when you work on all these other things above, right? And I told you guys about 4 levels of communications. Have you heard me say this before? Where it's like what you say, how you say it, your intention, and how you feel about yourself. If how you feel about yourself is congruent, everything else is elevated. That's why I say if this foundationally works or not works, let me take that back. If this foundationally changes and shifts for you guys, that's where you will see everything else elevate. And so I know it sounds like mindset and little woo stuff, and oh, this is all like hype. This isn't all like sales. Like I'm telling you guys, like no matter who you are, what you are, you guys could be construction workers. It's the same thing. Like you guys have to show up a certain way with a certain intention. Any leader you see in your life has shown up this way. Any great closer that I've met who's done anywhere from 50K to 100K in a month, they show up this way. That's the truth. There's a certain level of intention, intensity, and feeling that you see when you speak to these people. Any great leaders that you know, and I'm sure there's great leaders on this team as well that you guys know and look up to you, but they show up a certain way. It's that simple. And so if you can make this shift to where at least the first 2 minutes of the call are in your control, you will see how much more improvement you will actually see on your calls. So I'll open it up to a Q&A now, guys. I'll send you guys this doc so you guys have it. You can reference it. If anybody has any questions, please raise your hand about this and how you can implement this. I want to make sure it's as seamless as possible for you guys, and we can take it from there. That's great. That must mean I explained it well. I'm just kidding. Really, no questions? Seriously? Go ahead, Jackson.
What's up? I thought I would maybe let someone else have their try. I want to ask just some of your own stuff. When you get into the woo-woo stuff, I haven't been as great lately. I love that stuff. I know it works. It absolutely does work whenever I've practiced law of attraction, anything like that. I've absolutely seen for myself a benefit from it. Meditation, you name it. So I was curious, what are some things, some staples for yourself personally, if any, in that realm, as far as like, do you meditate personally? Is there something specifically that you practice yourself outside of what we spoke on the call today?
Yeah, good question. So I try to look at life in like different segments, right? So obviously there's like things that you value. So you should have your values, right? Whether it's like fitness, family, friendships, finances, right? It's all pretty similar to all of us. And you can label it different things like wealth, health, all this stuff, right? Um, the way I look at it is you want to look at everything as energy, right? Everything is energy, whether it's money, whether it's relationships, anything. And so one thing I firmly look at, even before getting into like woo space or all this other stuff, is something called abundance, right? Living in abundance. That's one of the best perspectives I can give you. It's like, even like even when you're on calls and if you're giving like, it's so funny. I saw this. You guys probably seen this meme if you guys are anywhere on like sales Instagram and whatnot. There was this one prospect who was like being super rough with him. He's like, oh, I'm a sales guy, man. I know how this goes. And he's like, you must get the worst objections in the world. He's like, because it's a mirror. It is a mirror, right? He was just being tough with him. So anyway, he's being tough back. But like abundance, meaning like you're not attached to anything, whether it's money, whether it's like emotions, right? Because like I've learned to really let go, and it's so funny enough. Like it's not even about like doing things on a daily basis. Here, Jackson, it's actually about making the changes like a one-time thing that you need to like let go of. So whether it's like, and I just had a conversation with somebody today, transparently. I won't say any names. I mean, you guys don't know them, but regardless, it's like I had a conversation with a student today, and he was very resentful on a friend who left his offer and advised him to leave too. And Christian Ramos, he decided to stay on his offer, and his friend left, and his friend started making 30K a month. He started making like 6, and he was very resentful of that, very resentful. And he's been like that for the last 3 months. And he made a really dumb decision just on Monday, where he decided to leave his offer where he was making 10K a month to go to like a launch for like some trading offer, and he made $0 because he wanted to make quick cash to be able to brag to his friend. That's literally what he wanted to do. He wanted to brag to his friend. But that's moving from a scarcity mindset. And so there's these things that you hold on to, these relationships that you hold on to, these friendships you hold on to, these emotions you hold on to, that force you to move from this place of scarcity and fear, which is exactly what he did. And literally, when I asked him, like, just from a logical perspective, like, hey, why did you leave? He's like, I really don't know. And he was like holding on to this, like this truth. And I was like, you're lying to me right now. He goes, what really happened? Like, you said you don't trust a sales manager. The offer is making less than 100K a month. I don't understand. Like, what did you leave for? And it's because those little things and nuances. And when you hear that story, you guys probably have similar stories in your life. You probably did something similar. But like, you need to, like, I literally, I kid you not, like, it's woo Jackson. But in order of, like, for him to move on from that, I told him to call his friend and apologize and like let it go. And he did. He did right after. And instantly, things like this shift. Things like that shift. Or like, if you're giving your attention to things that don't serve you. Like, if anybody, I'm going to tell anybody transparently, if anybody's been in sales for longer than a year, if you think about like selling on 2 opportunities because you have the time, you're doing like it doesn't serve you guys. You're half-assing 2 opportunities. Like, give your like all your devotion, emotion, and attention to one thing. And I promise you guys will see like a surplus in income automatically because you're giving that effort to that one thing. I promise you guys. So things like that, where it's like if you're attached to something. So like, this is where the abundance mindset comes into play here, Jackson. It's like attached to emotions, attached to finances, attached to outcomes, which you all probably see and experience on calls sometimes here too. Like, all those things will play such a big factor. So I'm very detached from everything. That fundamentally alone, but again, that takes some time. Like, you will have to sit down with yourself and think about like what you need to let go of, what decisions have you made. All those things you have to figure out first in order for these things to actually even like be a reality or a thing for you. Like, it has to, like, and that's like a one-time thing. It really is. Like, I've seen it in so many people and so many students just across the board, even like even people who aren't even sales, like my family, that they have to like just let go. And then when that happens, because how many times have you seen people like, if you're from like a small town or anything like that, they same people, same conversations, they don't, like, to 5-10 years, they don't grow. They're the same person you've met. But then some of you guys, I can guarantee you, more than half of you guys have probably in the last 2 years, 3 years, seen more growth in you. Because the one thing about sales is like, it works on you more than you work on it. That's the truth. And so, like, I'm sure you guys have seen massive growth in yourselves. And that's that shift and change I'm talking about. So it's like, if you made some changes already, there's so many other little nuances that you can let go. Like, where do you feel most uncomfortable? What conversation do you come into? And you're like, oh, how's it going, man? Where do you feel low? Like, why do you feel that way? If we don't question these things, and I promise you, it's not even like the person, it's not even that thing. It's a behavior one that you've been used to and programmed to like be comfortable and used to, right? And your brain's like, oh, it's fear, 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 fear. And so for you, it's like, Jackson, like those things that you need, like I tell you right after this, like think about the things you need to let go of. What do you need to let go of? What are those things? Right. And then after that happens, I promise you, it could be, and for every single one of you, I can tell you this transparent. There's probably one thing that's on your mind when I'm saying these. And you're probably like, oh, I can do this one thing. If you can do that one thing today, you'll start to see how it compounds for everything else. I'm like, well, I'll let go of that. Let me let go of this. I'll let go of that. Let go of this. And it can be something as small as like smoking a cigarette. If you do that like weekly, oh, I'm never going to smoke cigarettes. You just start doing that. Or it could be something as big as like a 5-year relationship that's been super toxic for you. But sometimes we hold on to these and hoping that it's going to get better, that it'll figure out on its own. I'm telling you that. I'll be the bearer of bad news. It won't figure out itself on its own. I'm telling you that right now. Only you can make that change. But if you let that go and it feels scary and it feels uncomfortable and all these other things, that little blockage is blocking you from whatever you want to accomplish, that energy, right? And so whatever you give will come back to you. And so if you're holding on to that and you're just being passive, then nothing's going to come your way. And it's like, if it feels like, oh, everything's just not working out in my favor, it's because of those things, right? And then that can move on to like the next level, right? So like, that's like relationships and attention, but then it goes to like money, right? As well, Jackson, where it's like, if you donate money or you hold on to money and you're being super cheap and like super, I mean, which is good to like budget. I'm a budget guy, but it's like, when it comes down to like paying things and giving forward, like you can't be afraid of those things either. It's like, don't be so attached to that money. Just because you started making money, don't be so attached to it. That's another thing that I've seen as well that serves you very, very well. So it's like, I would tell you right now, don't even focus like in the day-to-day. Like I could tell you like meditating, sure. Like I've done meditations and stuff before. It works, it helps. I would say start off with that stuff if you want to. Eventually you can taper off, because that's one thing I've even learned from Hermosi when I was there. It's like he used to do all this stuff and then he eventually tapers off. He becomes that person that he just doesn't need it. Right? He doesn't need it. And so if you want to start, and that's like a door open, like a gateway for you that you want to start doing that stuff, then sure. Right? You can do like manifestation meditation or just meditating in general. I think it's all great. If you love it and you enjoy it, it works for you, awesome. But like little nuances, like even like self-talk, like if any of you like mess up on a sailing, like, oh, I'm so bad, I'm this, I'm that, just stop that stuff. Like that's just feeding your subconscious that you are not good. And you'll start to believe that, whether you say it in a joking way or not. Those are just like little subtleties. And so there's so many little things that we can go over, Jackson. I'll make a doc on like the little things that I do on a day-to-day basis. But the biggest thing I would tell you is like congruence. Like that's your bigger problem. The attention, the things that are serving your attention, the things you're giving your attention to, all those things, all the things you're giving your energy to, that's pulling you away from being able to show up in other things that actually matter to yourself. So if you can fix that, everything else will start to shift. But I'll send you some stuff here for after this call, Jackson. I'll get you some stuff over to you.
Beautiful. Thank you, brother.
Connor.
Hey, I want to make sure this is relevant to everybody else too, but when you talk about decisiveness and congruency, one thing I've really struggled with the past years, like just that, like making decisions, because I had a super clear goal, like it was like make 10K a month in high ticket. And then I was doing that for like a year plus, like 2 years. And then I just kind of was like, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And so I've gone through this year of like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, like where I'm living, what I want to do, like what my goals are. And I flip-flopped on like where I'm living, what I'm doing, all these things. For you, like when you get into that season of like being less decisive, what are kind of the ways that you get sharper with it again, if that makes sense?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question, Connor. I'll ask you one question that it's rhetorical. You don't have to answer publicly, but I want you to think about this tonight is like, what do you want your life to look like?
That's like the hardest decision I've had like all year. I don't know.
And it's funny. Now this goes back to what I was saying, right? Where it's like that's the hardest decision, and you've waited on it, and then what's happened is like since you've like, oh, I'm not sure what I want it to look like, but since I kid you not, if you took the time tonight, Connor, let's say you just put it tonight, tomorrow, whatever, you put a 2-hour block. I would recommend doing it tonight, so you just change the behavior immediately. But the behavior that's happened is that you're like, oh, I need to figure this out, and you've let it go for so long, or you've been passive about that to where it's just gone on and it's lingered, instead of just taking the time to figure it out. And so what happens is like there's this fear of the unknown. And it's so funny enough, the unknown you can't be afraid of. You project a thought onto the unknown of like what the outcome might be, and you project either good or bad. Because if I ask you like, hey, where were you before you died? I mean, sorry, before you died, where were you before you were born? You're like, I don't know, in my mom's stomach. And then before that, like, where were you? Do you remember? Like, no, I don't. And it's not scary. But why is it that like when we think about death, it's like, oh my God, it's so scary because it's unknown. But we project this idea like, oh my God, I'm going to be sleeping for the next 100 years and be complete darkness. Or some people are like, oh, it's going to be heaven and I'm going to go to the heavens and fly up. It's like there's all this it's projection of belief in the unknown, right? And so like there's this unknown that you're afraid of, right? But since we don't have clarity on what your life is supposed to look like and what you want it to look like, you can't create that. And so then the ancestral script is that you freeze up. You don't do anything about it. And that's because you let it linger for so long, and that's behavior you allowed, and it's created a fear. And so now it's like you just freeze. And so what you need to change today is instead of thinking, I can't figure that out. Like take the time to do that. Like take the time. And trust me, I know it's like, oh, but I really don't know. I really don't know. If you spent 2 hours just looking at a piece of paper and did absolutely nothing after those 2 hours, I will send you $100 myself, because I promise you, you'll start to realize like things will come to mind. You'll force yourself to think. What do I want my life to look like? Where do I want to live? What kind of car do I want to drive? What kind of lifestyle do I want to have? Do I want to travel the world? Do I want to be at home? Do I want to live in a townhouse? How much square footage? Like I guarantee you probably don't even think about the nuances like that, but you go that deep, you'll start to realize how much clearer this picture can become. Actually, you know, funny enough, dude, I have it right here. I'm joking, bro. I review this every week. Whereas like 2025, it was like gym as health, family, money, experiences, spirituality, personal growth, relationships. And this is just like a little thing that I used to keep in my old apartment that I would look at every day. And when I look back at it now, I've accomplished like more than half of this stuff. Right? It's just pretty damn simple. Like even like Sales.io, the brand, when I wrote down that name, I didn't even know if it was available. I didn't know how much money it was going to cost. I didn't know it was expensive. I was like, oh, cool. I'll just buy it for like $20. It was definitely not $20. And so it's like, I created that intention. I created these goals and I was really clear on it. And that's what happens, man. You start to realize that like the more I can tell you, this isn't just for me, bro. This is like from guys like Charlie Morgan. This is guys like Alex Hormozy. Like they do the same thing. They can tell you so damn clearly what they want to accomplish, what it's going to look like, how many years it's going to take them to get there. And the funny thing is, man, sometimes we don't take enough time with ourselves to really think about these things. Like something as simple as like just like going for a walk with like Ethan with anything like stoicism, like meditations, Marcus Aurelius, just going for a walk with nothing. It's funny how like I always say it's like from the divine, where it's like these thoughts will just come to you. It almost feels like, where is this coming from? This isn't me. Like, where is this coming from? Like, I can't even imagine this. And it's like, how did that? What? Like, what are we talking about? Like when I thought about sales.io, I was at, if anybody's from Florida, I was at Miller's Ale House. It was like 11 p.m. And I walked outside. I was like, sales.io, that's gonna be the name. That's it. That's it. And it just clicked. And I wasn't like thinking about anything. I was like, that's what I'm gonna do. I went from like world class sales. I was like, that's what's gonna happen. And I wrote it on a post-it on December 16th, and I got it April 16th. That's it. I had this intention. I knew I was gonna do it, no matter what it was, no matter how much it cost. I was gonna make that happen. But I got so damn clear on my intention, on what I want to accomplish. And so I promise you, Connor, like don't underestimate that amount of time. Like if you spend that time with yourself and get really granular on all of that stuff, right? Because like now it really serves more questions. This is something that we can probably talk on privately too, Connor, as well. I know we spoke today on the outbound stuff, but it's like we talked more about like like how you can get clarity, because more or less then this becomes like a personal conversation with yourself, right? It's like, you know, whether you have a relationship in your life, you don't have a relationship in your life, when you want to settle down, all these things, and if you haven't thought about that, now's the time to do it. But I guarantee like you're gonna have something. It's like funny, we always know like the decisions we want to make sometimes, right? Our body's pretty aligned with that, our minds are pretty aligned with that. It's just sometimes you don't take the time to think it over. And it's like your gut will be like, this feels right, this feels wrong. Your body will kind of tell you the direction, right? Like it's funny, even you can eat a food and your body just feels off after eating it, right? And then you just never kind of like never eat it again. Like your body will tell you that something's off or wrong before you can even like consider or think about it. And so these are these things that like we need to really like notice. And so I love that question, Connor, because it's like a lot of people struggle with that. But I almost think it's like whenever someone's like, I don't know, I never thought about it. I need to think it over. I just need to think, or like I don't know, I'm not so sure. And it's like, no, really think about it. Like really take that time. And then when you start thinking about it, like I always tell you, make decisions based on emotions and compensate logically. You start thinking, and then what you start thinking about, like with the lifestyle you want to say, you just start feeling stuff. Right. And then you start changing the behaviors that will take you in that direction. Because you're like, oh man, like living in Cabo would be sick. And then you have this excitement. You feel like your physiology will start getting playing. Like, oh wow, it feels pretty good. Thinking about being in Cabo. Yeah, it's exciting. You start smiling, you start thinking about it. Like these little thoughts will come to your mind. And it's like, no, what if I traveled for like 6 months? That'd be freaking awesome. And you can create any reality you do want, bro. That's the truth. It's just like, what do you want? And how do we make it happen? That's it. We reverse engineer all of that. Even if it comes down to like how much money you want to make here. Like I think we should just set a clear intention and reverse engineer it. That's it. How many calls is it going to take you? What is it going to do? How would you have to show up? Where are you lacking? Make the improvements. And it happens. You'll see results. I'm telling you. So Connor, I'm telling you, I'm not joking. I keep my word with you. I'll give you $100 if you spit down for 2 hours and nothing comes out. Tell me. I will send you $100 myself. Like literally, I'll send a screenshot, everything. Like I will 100%. But I promise you, you'll start to get these answers when you start thinking about these questions. Where do you want to live? What do you want that to look like? Right? All that stuff. And you'll start realizing, what the heck? Holy cow! All this stuff. Just where did this come from? This influence will start to come to you. I promise you. So,
Thank you.
Really, yeah. Brandon Rios.
What's going on, man?
Everything.
Dude, what advice can you give on letting go the projection of negative beliefs? So I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
One that I just implemented that I totally agree with what you're talking about is dialing. Sometimes, we get part of our job is doing like 100 dials. Before, there would be a lot of times where I'd be like, I don't want to do this. I hope nobody picks up the damn phone right now.
Mm-hmm.
So then, or I'd be doing like different things. I'd be checking my email, whatever it may be, while dialing. Nobody would pick up. 100 dials will go by. Nobody picks up. Now I'm just sitting in front of the dialer, and like for whatever reason, people are just picking up the phone. Yeah. But another thing would be like, I would get on a phone and I see it's a real estate agent, and I'm like, I don't want to take this call. This guy's going to be talking to like 3 people in a day. It's going to be the same 3 people he talks to. I don't want to take this call. So what would you say on like getting rid of those negative beliefs?
No, that's a really good question. Again, it's like, I'll make it simple if we're talking about the scripts again. It is code, right? So like in a way, like the dialing, fundamentally, like, it's like there's a fear. There's like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to do these things. Real estate agent, they have bad experiences. It's in your brain, it's processing as negative, right? It's like, this is a negative thing for me. And so again, like I was saying before, It's like this is it's a life script that's triggering an ancestral script. Okay. And so anybody who came late, again, life scripts are things that we learn over time. They're patterns like tying your shoe. Ancestral scripts are like things that are embedded in our brains, code, in our DNA, right? And so it's like the fear, whenever somebody's afraid, you stop. That's everybody's natural reaction. Like a cop comes up behind you, woo, everybody has the same feeling, right? Put a baby over a table, you're going to start walking. That's embedded in our DNA, okay? And so the life script you created here, Brendan, is that like when you dialed, you've had uncomfortable conversations and you're aware of that. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. You created a negative connotation around dialing, a negative connotation around real estate agents, which in your brain is processed as bad. This is bad. This is negative. This is bad. And so your brain will protect you and put this fear mechanism in front of you, right? So where it's like, and the natural reaction is like freeze up. I don't want to do this. I don't. And like it's like you're pushing away from it, right? Because it's you're going against your pattern, the behavior, right, of actually having these conversations. You're going against it by doing that because you literally don't want to. You literally have avoided it. You that's the behavior, the pattern you had. I don't want to talk to people. You don't do it. And so alternatively, the way you create the opposite is like you change the behavior. Your thoughts and feelings on it are the same. You think about it, it's like they suck. I don't like them. Your feelings, they feel bad. But the way you would change and influence it, the thoughts and feelings on that is changing your behavior first, right? Which means the impulse, instead of you being like, oh God, here we go. What's up, man? How you doing? Yeah, it's Brandon Rios calling with Zen Blue. It's like change. Hey, is this whoever? Oh, it's Brandon Rios. How you doing? From Zen Blue. How you doing? Cool, awesome. And like that impulse shifts, it changes, behavior changes, all that stuff starts to change. And you'll start to see how one, they react differently. Because they can also feel you too, bro, at the end of the day. That intention I talk about with the 4 levels of communication, they can feel that. Whether you realize it or not, whether it's like super obvious or not, it is. And it's not just about acting it. It's like the behavior change first off will then trigger your brain. Whoa, this is different, right? And then you won't be as afraid. You won't be as nervous. You won't be as uncomfortable. But it's also, it leads back to the lesson I was talking about with the passiveness, right? Where like, it's like the fact that you're aware of this, right, is one thing. But like letting it slide by has also been like a passive decision where I don't want to do this and I'm not going to do it. Right. And so if you take that leadership and you make that shift, and not just here, but in other places too, but I guarantee there's probably other places, then you start to realize that like you show up with a different tone of voice, a different intentionality. Like there's a different intention, a different feeling. And they can feel that on the other side of the phone too, where it's like, the thing is you're treating like everybody else and treating like, oh, I spoke 3 or 4 other people, but you're already basically saying I'm coming in like every other person. They're going to treat me like everybody else too. But like, there's no other reason why they should treat like everybody else ever, if you don't show up like everybody else either. That's the difference. If they know you're not like everybody else, they won't treat you like everybody else. Funny enough, embedded like it's just so embedded code, right? It's a command plus code. People will naturally respect authority. That's embedded code in us, right? So like no matter what, like if I told you guys, hey, grab a pen and write this down, right? Literally, I want you guys to write this down. Everybody has a pen. Show me you guys have a pen. Everybody has a pen. Show me. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Yeah, cool. And so you're gonna write this down. That right there is code. Everybody showing me that pen, they're listening to the authority, right? That's code. Me saying, hey, grab a pen, write this down. Any of you can say that on a sales call. And if somebody reciprocates and shows you, hey, have you a pen? You have a pen with you? Cool, you're gonna write this down. Cool, awesome. Like, that's it. Like, they will see that and you know you're in control. You're the authority on that call. That is in our DNA. It's identical. We can all do that. So this is what I mean by like, if we're aware of these things, right? That's where we can make these changes. And that's what I talk about. If you don't understand foundationally why we're doing what we're doing, we can never make these changes. And so what's happened here, Brandon, it's just patterns that you're used to doing. Because I guarantee you probably eat the same time typically. You go to bed at a similar time typically. Sometimes like it's like the same pattern of like sometimes I go to bed super late, just watching Instagram Reels. You're doing the same. Until you change that behavior, nothing changes. I kid you not. I'll be super transparent with you guys. Last month, I would find myself on Saturday and Sunday, for some reason, I would watch Instagram Reels about American football. I haven't played football since like high school. And I would just watch Reels about football. I don't even know who's on the Giants anymore. Eli Manning. I don't even watch football anymore. But I would just watch random Reels. I just found myself doing that. And then it wasn't until I literally stopped and I started going to bed at like 9:30 or like 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Like it just doesn't happen anymore. And I just don't even look at my phone. I literally look at my phone for nothing. It's like, well, I'll just check some Instagram message. But that's it. It was so weird. It was the weirdest thing, but I just made that behavior change. And I just don't do it anymore. And I'm just waking up at 5 in the morning. And literally, I go to the gym with Simon every morning. I go to the gym at 5 in the morning. And I go to bed at like 8. I was in bed yesterday at 8 o'clock. I've never done that since I was like 6 years old. But I was like, damn, holy cow, this is like the best feeling in the world. But the behavior change changes everything. Right? And so that's what you guys need to understand. So Brandon, for you in your case, it's just like understand that like you break that behavior, everything else will shift. Everything else will shift. That's what I mean. That's what you can do like immediately. Like the negative connotation, all that stuff, you really want to fix it foundationally. It will come from that pattern and that behavior break. That's if you want to create, if you want to shift it like ASAP, that's what you need to do is change that behavior. And then you'll start to see that it's not a fear anymore. There's no freezing. There's no uncertainty. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I told you, like, I noticed it more than anything when I was dialing.
Yeah.
When I just sat in front of the desk and just looked at the name, I looked at the history. People just, every 4 or 5 people started picking up. I was like, what is this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dialing is tough. That is true. I will say that. It'll teach, again, you'll grow a lot more. It's the only thing harder than dialing, in my opinion, is probably door to door. But funny enough, like, even though it's more difficult, I tell you, like, I've met some guys doing door to door and they, for some reason, they just love it. And the guys who succeed there just have this positive connotation towards it. That's it. And trust me, I'm telling you, it's a 1,000 times more difficult, 1,000 times. But I kid you not, there's a guy right by our where I play pickleball, and every time he would come by, he's like, "Yo, what's up, JJ? Mr. Sales on? Yo, what's up, man? I'm like, Levi, what's up? Right? I know his name. I met him twice. I know his name and everything. He's just such good energy. But like, if it was me, I'd be like, fuck, I got nothing under there. This fucking guy over here, sales guy, whatever. What's up, bro? Like, I had to keep moving on. But like, it's like he has such good energy about it. And he's made it like it's a dopamine hit. You want to know something else too, Brandon? It's funny enough. This actually goes back to like laziness. I'm not calling out saying you're lazy, but like the reason why we get lazy is because of the expectation of how much effort it's going to require from us versus if we thought about how good it would feel if I actually accomplished this, there's a dopamine at the end of that. But because we look at like how much longer is it going to take me to do this, like, fuck, this is like, even think about how simple it is. Okay. Your mom, your girlfriend, and it's like, hey, can you take out the garbage? And you're like, oh, dude, I'm dialing people right now. Can you just give me like 20 minutes, man? Like, holy cow. But it's like the idea of like taking that garbage, walking outside is so like, and annoying that you make it such a big deal. I'm like, dude, it's only 60 seconds. Truthfully, but we're just so focused on like that 60-second like little break from our process. And we're so concerned about that. It creates laziness. It's literally just us being lazy. But if we realize like, yeah, you know, it'd probably feel a lot better if the house is clean, smells better in here. Like, I'm just gonna toss out the garbage. And so like for me, it's like, dude, it takes 60 seconds, just go and do it. And that's like one small example, but that's what it is. When it comes down to like dialing, it's like, oh man, it's gonna be so difficult. And I'm saying it's difficult. Sure, I could say it's that, but it's like the dopamine after, like, think about how much better it'd feel, Brandon, if like you're the guy on the team, like, dude, I dialed 250 leads today. I closed 3 extra deals today. I'm on top of every fucking other person because nobody else is gonna be willing to do this. I think there's just like the dopamine hit and just not being like everybody else. That's it. And it's just a reframe. Sure, you could say it's a reframe, but it's a different perspective. Instead of thinking about how much longer and how annoying these conversations are going to be, think about like how much further could I get if I just succeeded on like half of these calls? How much better could I be? And it talks about congruence, and we talk about like how you want to be perceived and passiveness. Like if you just dial and like, oh, hey man, it's just, and you hang up, you're going to create an incongruence in yourself, right? It's just like you're creating less and less of this connection of like the leadership. You're going back to passive. That's why, like, dude, there's times, I kid you not, people will come into like my community. I had one guy like literally was like, hey man, can you talk for 5 seconds? I called him myself. Dude, why the fuck would I do? I don't even know why I did it, but I did it because I was like, oh, nobody else is going to do this. I'll do it. And I closed him for 4K. It was just like a 1-1 thing. But it was just like, that's what it takes sometimes. It's just, I'm just not going to be like everybody else. Honestly, it doesn't even matter what everybody else is doing, but it's like, I'm going to be the best at whatever it is I'm going to do. And so it's like little shifts like that, man. If you don't look at it as like, oh, this is going to be so difficult, you won't be lazy about it. Just like, dude, the dopamine that's going to happen after I accomplish that, dude, if you, dude, I'm going to tell the team that I dialed 250 leads today, even if I didn't close, or even if I didn't, like, not that you didn't close, if I didn't set one to myself, but I did it, and I actually did it, which obviously if you did 250 dials, you're going to set somebody to yourself. But if you actually did that, there's this winning spirit. There's this fire inside of this intensity that starts to grow because nobody's going to do it. Nobody else, but you did. And that dopamine, not even dopamine, remove the dopamine. That win, that success is what will carry you over and over again. And so like, and this is like, for example, like someone like, I think Sean, you said you had a hat trick today, right? Like someone like today, a day like this is like, that's a win, but this isn't just like progress or success. It's just momentum. And so like from moments like this, people will hit like their highest month. They'll hit, 3 closes in one day, whatever it is. And they'll do that. I'm like, yes, all right, like I'm good. Like I'm good for this month. I'm good for this week. But it's like that momentum. Don't confuse that progression with momentum. Where like you just fucking continue, you just push, you go. And it's like, how can I be better than I was yesterday? And that sounds like such a simple thing, but like literally, like, what did I do today that was well? What did I do that was strong? How can I emulate, dissect it, understand it, keep it, like keep that momentum? Because I see it way too often. It's the same thing like fitness. People are like, oh yeah, I lost 20 pounds. Cool. I don't need to coach anymore. But it's like, no, you continue that. What's the next goal? What are we trying to accomplish? Continue that intensity. You have that success. Use it. Don't just use it as like when you're down. Oh, but there was one day I had 3 sales in one day, and like I know I'm better than this. Like, no, like fuck that shit. Like, just keep it pushing. Like, go, continue. But you create that environment for yourself every day. I'm like, if you showed up today a different way or a certain way, if you feel like it was just luck, try to emulate it. What can you take away from the day that you did that was right or wrong? Was it just, oh, better leads, this and that? You can control this stuff. You truly can. You truly can. And so if you talk about state management and showing up, all of that comes down to these foundations. It really, really does. And so I promise you guys, you will see this continue. If you guys actually, so for everyone who wants to see success in this, like if you actually leave today and again, 4 levels of influence, change your behavior from today. If there's a lack of structure and you improve that. So Breddin, Rios, or anybody else who has a calendar that's all over the place, I promise you, you'll see how that will impact your results so much more than just like, all right, that was cool. You felt good, felt a little motivated, felt a little inspired, right? You're thinking, oh, that was a good idea. I never thought about it in that way, right? Those are the 2 levels of influence. Right? If I scratch the surface there, cool, right? I made you feel a little bit better, cool, but actually change your behavior. I promise you. I promise you. You'll see a massive difference. Awesome, guys. Any other questions before we close out here in the last 2 minutes? Good to see you, Tommy. Appreciate you, bro. Awesome. Cool. I'll see you guys then. If you guys need anything else from me, let me know. Take care. Bye-bye.